Following Luke's loss of consciousness from his fight with Ash, Luke awakens and we're now controlling Ash. With Ash planning to go to a place called Belkend to learn more about Van's plans. He then uses the Tartarus and the Sephiroth to return to the Outer Lands with Natalia, Jade, Anis, Ion, and Guy begrudgingly joining to keep an eye on Ash. Tyr stays because, well, Julia City is where she lives, and Mew stayed because he is loyal to Luke. We love our precious little boy. Oh, I guess I have to explain how Luke can see through Ash's eyes. They're perfect replicas and disadjusted Luke's phone slots. That's how Ash is able to talk to Luke with his mind, and how Luke is able to see and hear what Ash learns in these moments. If these terms are unfamiliar to you, then yeah, you just have to play the game. In Belkin, they meet a scientist named Spinoza, with Ash revealing that the man was involved in his kidnapping. Jade tells Spinoza that replicating living things are forbidden, but Spinoza instead reveals Jade's past as the father of Fomicry, the technology that was made to create Luke. Jade fully accepts his responsibility in this, and I really love this quote from him.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm not interested in mutual wound licking. I have no intention of covering for someone just because they've committed the same sin as I.
Spinoza then accidentally lets slip that they're recording replica information for Van. Realizing his mistake, he runs like a weenie and Ash gives chase. Shocked of Jade's reputation and former work, the party confronts him of his past as the creator of Famicry, stating a time that he cared more for his own desire than the ethical problems that would arise from the things that he made. From within Ash's mind, Luke laments that everyone left to help Ash out, and Ash points out that even though he was their enemy, they still ultimately chose to join him. Of course, this was to find out Van's plan and to stop the war from happening, but it's still gonna sting. They did spend a significant amount of time together, and Luke for sure developed a fondness of them. It was, in essence, his first time meeting people that aren't his servants in the manor, with Guy, Natalia, and Pierre, the gardener, being the only ones who developed an honest friendship with him in his time in the past 7 years. Finding out Spinoza's possible destination, Ash decides to go to Orsion Cavern after learning that the facility needs more fominin, a mineral mined in the cavern used for the fomicry process. It is here that Guy then decides to go back to Luke, with Anis objecting, calling Luke an idiot, and Natalia stating that Ash is the real Luke. Guy then validates the time he and Luke spent as friends and says he has faith in him. Luke hears this and thanks Guy from afar. This is an important point in Luke's character growth. Having a person that has faith in you and believing you can change is something that a person struggling with their own mistakes needs to adapt and change. Ash and Guy talk about something, and Ash tells him about the entrance to Julia City in a place called the Aramis Spring. With this, Guy departs and waits for Luke in Aramis Spring. There's also this one moment with Ash and Natalia in where Jade validates Luke's life with Guy and Natalia for 7 years. Yes, he's not the quote-unquote original Luke, but he's still real. He is alive. He still existed. Jade knows firsthand that creating life comes with responsibilities, and the replicas are still real people. Upon entering the cavern, Anis advises Ion to stay in the Tartarus, with Ash reinforcing to let him stay, and Luke chiming in from his head to come with, which maybe stems from Luke's confidence in protecting Ion, or Ash maybe not caring enough to protect anyone, which really isn't the case. Maybe he's just not used to escort missions, which is kind of weird because the God Generals are supposed to be the lead bodyguards of the Phone Master. We encounter creatures not native to the cave, with Ash rescuing Natalia from being ambushed by a few of them. Jade identifies the creatures as a result of the Fomicry experiments in the area. The cavern is crawling with these creatures, but it's kind of a short dungeon, more of a story beat. So, let me bring this up now. When we started this portion of the story playing as Ash, Natalia has been asking him if he can remember parts of the past that were clearly both important to them. With one where Natalia asking Ash about the promise he made with her. It's the very same promise that she asked Luke if he can remember the first time you meet her. Ash shrugs that off, saying he's not Luke. Natalia firmly grasps these childhood memories And there's a very great reason for this. Although, it's kind of terrible of her to kind of brush off Luke's existence, pointing out that Ash is the real Luke. But you've got to remember that she's shocked and maybe excited in the prospect that this person being the one you shared many of the most cherished moments of your life. These events being important to her character development in the future. In the depths of the cavern, we find a fomicry facility, running calculations on large objects. Jade informs of the possibility of replicating small islands. Then they find a calculation large enough to replicate a continent along with data from citizens from an island called Hod. We also find two Cheagles, a replica and its original, with the original not being able to breathe as strong a fire as the replica. Jade explains this to be a side effect of the replication, but do not worry about it since it's been 7 years and Ash is doing okay. Ash, planning to stop Van alone, proposes to take them all back home. On their way, a monster appears to stop them and Ash saves Natalia from injury. And this initiates the boss fight. The monster is called an Encyclopolyp. It's a pretty cool design, very monster from the depths like. It's weak to wind damage and does a lot of water attacks. It's pretty okay. The only thing that's annoying about it is the times that you're gonna wonder why you're the only one attacking the thing. And it's because it generates these small monsters called polyps. After the monster goes down, Jade explains that it was formed due to the waste caused by the fomicry experiments. Natalia thanks Ash for saving her, and upon trying to exit, they experience an earthquake. Ash explaining that this was due to Luke destroying the Sephiroth in that region. He then finally reveals why they've been making Ion open those Sephiroth doors. Van is planning to drop the continents to destroy them. To what cause? We'll learn that later. Learning about Van's plan, Luke decides to wake up, seeing Tyr outside the room window. With a new sense of urgency, Luke tells Tyr about the danger of Saint Vina falling. Tyr asks him how he's going to stop him, chastising him for basing all his actions from what others say.
You're right. Master Van said so. Ash said so. That's all I ever say. It's no wonder everyone got sick of me and left me behind.
You knew that they went back to the Outer Lands?
I told you, Ash and I are connected. I saw it through him. I really am his replica.
Luke,
Up till now, all I ever paid attention to was myself. And I'm not even sure I saw myself clearly.
yeah,
I want to change. I have to change.
if you really mean that, then perhaps you can. But even if you change, that won't bring back Exariuth. And it won't erase the fact that thousands died. With the weight of all that on your shoulders, how do you plan to change?
I don't know. That's all I know how to say. I'm pathetic. If I could make up for Exariuth by apologizing, I'd apologize as much as it took. If my dying could bring back Exariuth, then I'd be scared. But I'd die.
Luke accepts and acknowledges his faults, accepting responsibility for the tragedy of Exariuth, but kind of words it in a very clumsy way. As a sign of resolve, Luke cuts his hair. With this, I say goodbye to what I've been, and lets go of his hair. I may not do a good job right away, I may make mistakes, but I'm going to change. This is the beginning of Luke's road to redemption. As cliche as that may sound, Tyr suggests to talk to her grandfather, the mayor of Yulia City, and he reveals something very disturbing.
Oh, Tyr, it's you. And this must be...
Pleased to meet you. I'm Luke.
I'm you!
You, stay quiet.
Ah, you're the Luke replica. I see. You really do look the same.
Grandfather!
Oh, I'm sorry. There's no need for you to apologize to us for Exariuth, however.
What do you mean?
The fall of Axariuth is written in Yulia's score. It occurred because it was meant to.
What are you saying? I've never heard that. That makes it the same as Hod.
It's part of the closed score. Only those of Maestro rank or higher know of it.
If you knew about it through the score, why didn't you try to stop it?
Luke, I'm surprised to hear someone from the Outer Lands say such a thing. A calm, orderly life in accordance with the score is the way of the Order of Lorelei.
Well, yeah, but
Why are people read the score on their birthday each year? To learn of the next year and accept the possibilities it holds.
Then why didn't you inform the world about Axariuth's destruction?
yeah, if you'd let everyone know, people wouldn't have had to die.
That's the problem. When faced with a score of death, people become unable to live peacefully.
Of course. Sir, nobody wants to die.
That's not acceptable. Yulia read prosperity for Aldrich in the score. If we don't move history down that path, we'll lose the prosperity we are promised. We are the Watchers who guide the Outer Lands to prosperity, based on Yulia's score. The Order of Lorelei is a tool for that purpose.
Complicit to genocide, obstruction, deception, all in the name of a promised prosperity. The fear of losing this promised prosperity, urging the Watchers of the score to do unspeakably horrific acts. Even with the warning of part of the continent falling, Theodora remains calm and sure that anything unwritten within the score is not meant to happen. Outraged by this, Tyr and Luke resolve to leave and find a way to save Saint Bina. While preparing to leave the city, Tyr recounts how Van hated the score, how it wasn't used to save their homeland. She recalls a time when she overheard a conversation between him and Lagreta about how the people of the Outer Lands would perish and die. She hands Luke a book on phonology to help him learn to control his hyperresonance. A glyph in the city takes them to Aramis Spring, and along the caves in the spring, they find Guy, who's been waiting for them, telling Luke to keep the name and being surprised for his gratitude. Now, here is something I want to emphasize. Luke would have never changed if not for the people who stayed with him. Without people to correct you when you're wrong or to cut you some slack when you make mistakes, you may find yourself falling into the same traps you did before. I'm not a therapist or anything, but based from personal experience, I think that sometimes outside perspectives and corrections are an important part of reforming or changing a habit, especially to people who grow up in a very isolated environment like Luke. That importance is also shown here, where the two talk about how much Luke has to deal with, and we kind of forgot how heavy that is for one person. This day and age, if a person makes a mistake like Luke does, they'd send him off to the gallows, never to be heard from again. Doesn't matter your mistake or how you atone for it, or how even long ago you made that mistake. People love to see a quote-unquote bad person be punished. It makes them feel righteous, it makes them feel better about themselves. Unfortunately, there are still some bad people out there who still gets cuts off some slack, and it's awful to see, but there's a lot of people who gets punished for the smallest mistake, never having the chance to improve. That's why Guy and Tyr are important to Luke. People who are there to stick with him and acknowledge that he can change. They gave him an inch, and throughout this story, we'll see him give more than a mile. Small conversations between Luke and Guy when you're exiting the Aramis Spring Caverns, where Guy reminds Luke that even far back, Luke already had his own personality. Guy even taking responsibility for not scolding him enough when he was a kid. Finally, exiting the cavern, they're met with Jade. We are informed that Ion and Natalia have been taken by Mose, determined to start a war in the name of a promised prosperity. Jade's reaction to reuniting with Luke is catty, downright savage. And that's how it is. You do something bad, you act like an ass, you have to work hard to win them back. And I really can't blame Jade for acting like it. Luke acted like a windbag and made a fatal tragedy happen, all because of his misguided trust on Van and his insistence of not acknowledging the existence of his entourage as the Kimlaskan ambassador. Speaking of Cathy, After the amount of emoticons exhibited by Anis, she informs us of Natalia and Ion's location, with a plan to speak with a Maestro 3-time, who, believe it or not, will be important to the plot. And if you thought Jade's welcome was cold, damn, kid! After getting a permit from 3-time, we search the Oracle Knights headquarters, a military training ground underneath a church. I sure hope no church gets the idea of making their own militia. Okay, so this is a fun dungeon. Since we need to search the rooms of the facility, but they're not easily accessible, we need to use gongs beside the rooms, which are signals to assemble to call out soldiers from in the rooms to get in. You can knock out the soldier that comes out, which will be very important to parts of this place. After ringing a lot of gongs, we find Natalia and Ion, and I really love how Ion thinks of Luke, saying that he's always been a good person, and just not knowing how to express it. Although it's more accurate to say he's a good person, he just needed a little time to develop. Evidence to this is when he apologizes for the first time he accused Tyr of being a spy. Something that happened so far behind the story now. I don't think I even written that on the script. Wait. Yeah, no, I wasn't able to write notes about that. But Luke remembers and apologizes for it. I'll say again, if you're planning on playing this, use a mod that restores the voice acting for the skits. It enriches the experience. Yes, they're just conversations, but they are impressively acted and brings a lot of emotion to these small moments. Finally reaching the hill overlooking the city of Dath, the party planned their next action. Unfortunately, since the king, Natalia's father, is too trusting of Grand Maestro Mose, they are unable to go directly to him and ask him to stop the war. Ion suggests going to Malkuth's emperor for aid since Saint Bina is still in danger of sinking, which is within Malkuth territory, and the emperor of Malkuth was also the one who resolved to enact a peace treaty. Unfortunately, since the city becomes a fortress in the threat of war, and the Tartarus was captured by the god generals, and news of Jade dying in Xeriuth has spread, they can't enter the city directly from the Tartarus, and they have to walk.
Is it going to sink?
I'll take a look.
I'll go too. I may be able to help if any phone machines need repair.
Master, I can't swim.
I know. Don't worry. We're not going to sink.
En route to a broken bridge, which is close to the capital, since the Tartarus just throughout the story has been beaten. It got hijacked, it endured the ground collapsing, fell into poisonous mud, it also got ejected out of the Clyfoth. It's now in need of dire repairs, and the party goes on a much needed stopover in a town called Ketterberg. Oh, and Jade was born there, I guess. Oh yeah, the mayor is also his sister. Apparently, only the emperor believed that Jade was still alive, and Nefri, her sister, allows them to rest in the city and repair and resupply the beaten Tartarus. Maybe it's because I'm an islander, but I always liked the concept of snow. Man, check out those kids with their snowball throwers. Luke excuses himself to return to Nefri's office as she requested. Nefri tells him about Jade's past and his attempt to create a replica of his beloved mentor. Jade confronts Luke about this, clarifying that he no longer wishes to replicate Professor Nebulib, giving probably one of the most relevant quotes to this game.
I'll live the rest of my life pained by the sins of my past.
In the morning, Nefri informs us that the Tartarus is ready and we're set to get back to journeying to Rotelro Bridge. The fuck is Mew doing? Finally reaching Theor Forest, which is the land border to Grand Kokma, Jade introduces himself to the guards and is escorted to the capital. Unfortunately, I say that a lot, don't I? Oracle soldiers assault the border and we move in to investigate the reason for the attack. How in the hell are they following us? Depending on your patience, this place may get to your wits. You're kind of encouraged to not fight, but there's a lot of items in here. So to not fight anyone, you can use Mew's Fire or using Mew to knock on trees to distract soldiers. With a bit of luck and planning, you can get through this fine. We found the source of the commotion was Largo, with Sync hiding and using Guy to attack them. An earthquake allows Natalia to snipe Sync out of where he is hiding and take Guy out of the curse slot's influence. A unit of soldiers make Largo and Sync run, and the party is taken into custody by the soldiers. Luckily, we're expected and are welcomed by General Frings of the Malkuth army, who informs Luke that they need to meet with the Emperor. Luke is still distraught by Guy's injury due to the curse slot, and he flies off the handle a bit. Ion then requests a place to rest to where he can work on removing the seal, informing everyone that the curse slot is a phonic art only usable by phone masters. He then tells us what the curse slot actually does.
Now, a curse slot can't be used to take full control of the target.
What does that mean?
A curse slot stirs up memories and paralyzes rational thought. Guy wouldn't have attacked you if he didn't already have a strong desire to kill you. That's what it...
What?
You mustn't get near Guy until I've removed the curse.
This rattles Luke to the core. Guy was the first one to come back for him. Learning how the curse slot works gives Luke a lot of self-doubt. Tyr lays it in thick that even though there was a time Guy hated him so much he wanted to kill him, Guy still believed him in the end. With his head clear, Luke finally meets with the Emperor. Emperor Peony is chill. Like, bizarrely chill. Like, surfer dude chill. He informs us that St. Bina's land is indeed sinking, but can't deploy soldiers due to Kimlaska's declaration of war due to the apparent deaths of Luke and Natalia. Luke boldly requests the Emperor to instead send them into St. Bina to rescue the citizens. Natalia chimes in as well. I love this scene with Luke requesting the Emperor to save St. Bina. This isn't the pinnacle of his growth yet, and we're set to see more. But seeing Luke do his best like this is pretty inspiring, and you really want to root for him. After the audience, we return to the inn, and Guy explains to Luke the root of his hatred. He was born a noble from Malkuth, and in the Had War, Luke's father laid siege to the city, killing everything and everyone he loved. Oh, and Jade knew already, because of course he does. Luke and Guy resolve to trust each other, mending their friendship. And we head straight to St. Bina. There's also an option to not go directly, which should allow you to do some exploring if you want, but I did go straight there for my run. With the message from the Emperor, the McGoverns move to evacuate their citizens. The evacuation is going very well, with everyone noticing how Luke is working very hard to change. However, this arrives with Oracle soldiers impeding the progress of the evacuation. Another attempt on recapturing Ion for Van's plan. The fight is basically the same from the last time you fought this. His robot just has some new moves. It's still weak to water though. Just protect your casters and you're golden. We've defeated this, but the land starts sinking. Currently unable to rescue the rest of the citizens trapped in town, Guy suggests their next destination to be Sheridan, a place where flightstone experiments are being conducted. Since the sinking is caused naturally and not instantly like in Xeriuth, the descent only speeds up after passing a certain point, giving them enough time to go there.
And it took several days for Hot to fall. There's a force field called the dividing line between the cliff off and the outer lands. He said they fell faster just after crossing that line.
Hey man, don't ask me. Without wasting any time, we arrive in Sheridan, where we meet three elderly engineers, Eamon, Tamara, and Aston, arguing about an incident with a recent experiment. The Albior, the plane they were developing, recently crashed in the Medjugorje Highlands along with Eamon's grandson, the pilot. Luke negotiates to rescue the drive and the pilot in exchange for borrowing another plane. Then Jade chooses the worst time to be snarky. We get to the Medjugorje Highlands and see the Albior in a precarious position. They decide to split into two groups to properly secure the craft to save both the pilot and the hover drive. On Luke's side, near the Albior, you'll encounter a fucking T-Rex with a pretty grotesque looking sword on its back. Pretty sure that's nothing. Anyway, the Blade Rex is a pretty cool design. I can't remember if there are any more variants of this monster model in the game, and unfortunately it's more of an obstacle made for you to sweat it out while a timer runs. It's a simple fight even with just 3 members. Just be careful not to get too careless since it does give a lot of damage. Oh, and after the fight, you get an item called Nebelim. Oh, it's the sword. Luckily, Guy's party doesn't encounter a dinosaur, and they get to secure their side faster. We've successfully rescued Ginji and retrieved the hover drive. Now to get back to Sheridan. If it seems the story is moving a bit fast, please remember that Saint Bina is still sinking. We meet with Iamon and the others, but Gimlaskan soldiers arrive to pursue us, with Aston appearing to inform us that the Albior 2 is complete, and they're going to hold off the soldiers with frankly cool-looking combat poses.
By our honor as Sheridan's Class M, this is as far as you go!
These guys are probably some of the coolest engineers that you'll see in an RPG. No offense, Sid. With the speed of the Albior 2, we're able to save the remaining citizens of St. Bina. Everyone then watches as the town fall into the poisonous mud of the Clivepath. Wanting to save the town for the citizens' sake, Luke asks if they can use the Sephiroths to do so. Luke is still scarred by the experience of destroying Exariuth and is desperate to save St. Bina. Jade chides Luke for this behavior and informs that everyone wants to save Saint Bina. We then head to Yulia City and ask about the Sephiroths and how the score has finally faltered. Theodora awaits everyone after learning of the falling of Saint Bina, an event not written in the score. The mayor of Saint Bina, the older McGovern, encourages Luke, saying that old people take time to scold people they like. Jade is embarrassed by this and snarks as always. Anyway, can we stop referring to Jade as old? He's just in his 30s, man! Luke then takes time to thank Tyr, who from the very start of this game has never stopped correcting Luke. It's true that in the beginning of the game, she felt obligated to get him back home, but there's a lot of moments in where she really didn't have to do anything and not teach Luke anything at all, but she still did. The party gathers in City Hall to find a way to save Saint Bina from sinking. Theodoro laments not having an item called the Key of Lorelei, a sword-and jewel that can freely control energy, but he does suggest an alternative solution, the passage rings. If you can't remember, that's what Van had Luke destroy in Exariuth. The hope is to restore the Sephiroth to prevent the land from sinking into the poisoned mud. To enact this plan, we head to a location called Sherry Hill, east of the falling town, and find the passage ring, unmoved until, well, we unseal it. And it is here that Anis reveals the source of Van's strength and martial prowess.
バンは本当にいろいろな技術を持っていますのね。
だよね。知識もあるし、頭のキレもすっごいし、剣術もすごいし、セブンスフニムも扱えるし、超人だよ、超人。ヒゲだし。
ヒゲは能力ですの？
ヒゲは能力だよ。首席総長はきっとヒゲから力が出てるんだよ。
あのヒゲにそんな秘密が。
何気に眉毛もすごいよね。
眉毛まで。眉毛には一体どんな力がありますの？
眉毛はね、索敵装置だね。あと人心を操る恐るべき催眠能力を放っているのであった。
さすがオラクルの総長ですわ。侮れませんわね。
ティア、あんなこと言ってるけどいいのか？
いいんじゃないかしら。
ヒゲはともかく、グランツ幼少はその知望を生かす能力を持っているようです。これからも先手を取られ続けると少々厄介ですよ。
でもどうするんだ？戦って勝てるかもわからないし、何より居所がわからないぜ。
アッシュなら何か知っていると思うのだけれど。
アッシュね。
I love this game very much. So the control panel is locked with some seals and we need to unseal it by solving a puzzle in the dungeon. The puzzle has to do something with collecting colored balls and placing them in pedestals to make a musical score play. Solving these allow you to open paths to stone that you bash Mew's head with to break the seals. There are 3 variations of this in the dungeon. We unseal the mechanism, but the control panel doesn't respond until...
Tyr, could you Okay. What?
Once opened, Jade guides Luke in undoing Van's seal from the passage ring and successfully reactivates the Sephiroth. Unfortunately, the passage ring also shows them the impending sinking of Engave, so we need to move immediately to evacuate its citizens. Up in the Outer Lands, war has broken out. Due to the conflict, Engave is now in danger of destruction even before the lands fall. Luke suggests to split up. In the game, this is actually separated as a choice. I always choose to go to Engave because that makes most sense with Luke's character, and I also take Tyr with me, and Jade joins by default. This party mirrors who was present at the start of the game, where Luke stumbles into Engave as a selfish, oblivious, and arrogant person to someone who's willing to risk his life for complete strangers. Since the villagers can't escape to the capital, Luke elects to escape to Casidonia, having the elderly and children be transported on the Albior, with them accompanying the able-bodied across the battlefield. And I do adore this simple reaction from Jade.
Let's leave the Albior to Noel, so we can escort those who are walking.
Luke. Yes, let's do that.
Clearly thinking the same thing, Jade is quite surprised that this selfless suggestion came from that very same selfish, oblivious, and arrogant person. Clearly, Luke's willingness to change and improve is now shining through. There's actually some interactions with some of the villagers while you're taking them to Casidonia. A very important one is from this one woman, Miriam, who is the mother of the boy who drowned in the mud in Xeriuth. Luke tries to apologize to her, but Jade stops him. Why? Because they're on a battlefield, and it's not the time and place for a potential reaction that would cause chaos from the villagers. After reaching Casidonia, we are actually rewarded depending on how much combat we avoid. And the rewards are quite good. After this, we immediately switch to Natalia's party in Kaitsur. Unfortunately, General Cecile doesn't have any authority to issue a ceasefire, and all of the important figures are in Casidonia, so off they go to reach Count Almandine's ear. I actually got lost in the battlefield. It's the same deal with Luke's party, that you got to avoid fights as much as you can, but I didn't, and I fought a lot, so I'm sorry. When we reach Casidonia as Natalia, we are immediately reunited with the rest of the party. Natalia then informs Luke of Almandine's presence in Casidonia with Grand Maestro Mose. Natalia and Luke do their best to negotiate for a ceasefire. However, Mose, like the disgusting wretch that he is, exposes Natalia to be adopted, and then branding her as a fake and traitor. This shocks her to the core. Up to now, she's always been the one who's using her status as princess to help others. She's oblivious to some things, sure, but her definition of nobility has always been for the service of her people, using her status as princess to help the citizens of her father's kingdom. This demoralizes her immediately and destroys her confidence. Let's get this out of the way. Mose is a monster. He is. For all you Final Fantasy X fans out there, he is all the higher figures of Yevionism compressed into one body. He claims that he's doing the score's bidding, but never stopped to ask if the vague promise of prosperity is even worth all of this loss of life. Believe it or not, he will get even worse down the line. I promise you. During the exchange, Ion, believing he can do more in Dath, elects to return to Dath and relieves Anis of her duties as guardian, ordering her to keep an eye on Luke. We talk to Astor, who agrees to take in the refugees from Engave. But grave news arrives as Astor is informed that Casidonia is sinking too. Remembering that Zao Ruins also has a passage ring, we head there to possibly slow down the fall of Casidonia too. Ash communicates with Luke via brain and tells him to go to the Oasis. Ash asks if Luke is hearing someone else's voice recently. Luke, still kind of annoyed with him, says no, but Ash does inform us that the Sephiroths are connected to each other and we can remotely control the one we previously activated in Sherry Hill if we activate the passage ring in the Zao Ruins. So there is only one thing new in the Zao Ruins. A freaking fossil scorpion with a T-Rex skull. Fucking awesome. So my favorite party configuration is with Luke, Guy, Anis, and Tyr. The three allow you to keep some enemies locked into a stun state while being hammered with physical attacks. This works for a while with this monster until the fossils that surround it shakes off. This is awesome. Though the monster's attacks don't really change that much, and you can still stun lock it with a ton of melee attacks. After a very, very, very long trek down, seriously, this is no dungeon, it's literally just a set of stairs. We reach the ruins' passage ring. Now watch as Jade guide Luke in doing this world's equivalent to C++. Jade suggests we wait out the descent before going outside. Luke banters with Anis and Guy for a bit, but then Tyr falls to the ground. Worried for Tyr's health, we exit the ruin and return to Casidonia. We rendezvous with Noelle, and Jade asks her to fly above to confirm a suspicion. Above the skies of the Clayfoth, Jade confirms the worst. The Sephiroth trees are malfunctioning. A warning he saw from the passage ring hinting that the malfunctions could cause them to be destroyed. And if that happens, every continent in the Outer Lands and the Clayfoth will be swallowed by the miasma. Luke asks if in the score there's any mention or possibility of the Outer Lands being saved, but since Theodoro won't be inclined to share any information, Anis suggests Ion. With the Albior, we reach Death, finally away from the heat of the desert. I lived through a heat wave while writing this. With Anis's guidance, we reach Ion's room, and then hide deeper into it because of a meeting between Mose and Dist. And from that, it looks like Dist is still determined to create a replica of their mentor Nebulim, and is negotiating for her replica data, with Mose determined to realize the prophecy of the score. Since we're still in the dark on Van's final plan, we decide on stopping the war by taking Mose away from King Ingobert's ear. Not seeing him in his room, we find Ion in a library, and he reads to us the passages of the score relevant to the recent events.
ND 2000. In Kimlaska shall be born the scion of Lorelei's power. He will be of royal blood, with hair of red. He shall be called the light of the sacred flame, and he will lead Kimlaska Landvaldir to new prosperity. ND 2002. The one who would seize glory shall destroy the island of his birth, a land named Hod. War shall persist between Kimlaska and Malkuth for a full cycle of the seasons. ND 2018. The young scion of Lorelei's power shall bring his people to the minor city. There, the youth will turn power to calamity and be as a weapon of Kimlaska, destroying himself and the city. Thereafter, the land of Rubnica will be enveloped in war, and Malkuth shall lose territory. Kimlaska Landvaldir shall thrive, and this shall lead to unprecedented prosperity.
Ion!
That's all the 6th phone stone says about the collapse.
So, all it talks about is Axarioth and the war. The Sephiroth going out of control might be written on the 7th phone stone.
Who's the scion of Lorelei's power?
Luke, of course. Who else?
But Luke was only born 7 years ago.
This is ND 2018. It said 2000, so that has to be Ash.
Ash was supposed to perish along with Axarioth, but he's still alive.
But Luke went to Axarioth before that could happen. This score is messed up.
Ash did show up later, but he was no longer called Luke, the light of the sacred flame.
Luke's existence, the existence of a replica, is missing from Yulia's score.
Are you saying that me being born threw the score off track?
Luke?
Found you!
This is bad! Everyone, please run! You too, Anis!
Let's get back to the Albior.
Sadly, the escape is cut short. Moses waiting along with this and a platoon of Oracle soldiers with Noelle as hostage. Mose takes them to Baticul to have Luke and Natalia executed. The thought of being absent from the score and taking it off track causes him to surrender to this, and Tyr protests. She protests this strongly, saying that his absence from the score only meant that it can lead them into a new future. In Batikul, Luke and Natalia are separated from everyone and detained in Natalia's room. Natalia, poor Natalia, addressed as a name that was not given to her at birth and is labeled traitor by her father's followers, are instructed to drink poison to die by the grace of her own hand. Most, you can fucking rot in hell. Luckily, they're saved in the last minute because, well, spoiler alert, Ash freed them. The hell is your deal? In the audience chamber, most exercises his influence on the king in full tilt. Like a 9-year-old winning a Twitter argument with facts and logic. He even does the thing of adding details to events that were never the case, declaring that Natalia aided in the destruction of Xeriuth because she was taken from her real parents, who she never really met before. Like, bro. Luke pleads with his uncle, mentioning the time he spent raising Natalia as his own. Shut the fuck up, Mose! Ash then appears to expose this duplicity. And this kind of ticks off Largo, and they get to a fucking argument. We flee the king's castle, escaping Batikul with the aid of Tuk Faber's White Knights and the people of the city. Like I said before, this is not unfounded. Natalia has always been characterized for her nobility. She embodies the word, using her status and everything she has to help others. The citizens shield her, thankful for her works and what she's done to the city. None of these people want a war, regardless of what the prophetic score says. In the city's entrance, the people give Natalia their support, advising us to escape the city via Inista Marsh, which leads to Belken.
There's something scary about this marsh.
Let's pray we don't run into any nasty monster.
Jade, dude, time and place. Oh, the behemoth. No problem. I can deal with this guy. What? He gives nothing? Fuck this thing. I'm out. I guess we kinda have to talk about the swamp. So the marshland's biggest feature is the behemoth. And it wouldn't really make sense if you moved fast in here. So they slowed you down. Every time you're in the swamplands, you move slower. Significantly slower. Which means a lot of frantic moments in where the behemoth is chasing after you. Luckily, this dungeon isn't that huge, but there are some good items here. And if you go back to this location at a certain amount of time, you can beat the behemoth again and it will give you something. During our excursion in the marsh, Natalia gets a bit distracted and gets nearly caught by the behemoth. She gets a moment to break down.
You know what?
Right. The people in Batikul would be in tears if Natalia got hurt.
Yeah, I was so surprised. They really love her.
Natalia's in charge of public works. She uses the profits to help the needy. Everyone admires her.
If Luke were the prince, he would have just enjoyed his nice, cushy life.
Even statesmen need to have character.
Yeah, the people of Batikul don't love the princess. They love Natalia.
But father!
If His Majesty insists on rejecting you, then come with me to Malkuth. I'd welcome you with open arms.
How can you say things like that with a straight face?
Hey, don't let guys sweet talk you into defecting to Mal.
How about instead we take King Ingobert off the throne and make Natalia queen?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to start crying.
It's okay. So much has happened. It's gotta have been unsettling.
I'm sorry, everyone. I'm all right. Thank you, Guy.
I'm happy I could help bring back your smile.
You're going to make me blush. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
It's been a very hard day for her. And it's nice to see that everyone has her back. Near the exit of the marsh, we encountered Behemoth again. This time separating Anis from the group. To rescue her, we have to entertain it for a while. Just run away as the story tells you. Or you could just do what I did and waste all of your resources. Because it ends the same way. You get zero everything afterwards. After an excruciating trek from the marshland, we finally reached Belkend again. And Jade intends to visit Spinoza. You know, the squirrely old dude who tried to call out Jade but got owned and run like a chicken? Yeah, that guy. We reach the lab and Luke is mistaken for Ash. Okay, listen, how are you guys not fired yet? They do not wear the same clothes and there is a man in blue uniform you know is from the other army you're against. How can you be this dim? Anyway, then we get intercepted by Van, who lets them all stay. Probably because he's still underestimating Luke. He partially shares his past to us and reveals some of his past with Guy, confirming that he used to be Guy's attendant in HUD and his plan to let the continents drop down to the Clivehoth, destroy Lorelei himself, and replace everyone with replicas to free humanity from the score. Boy, I didn't think comparing him to Palpatine would make this much sense. Ash drops in and Van, Jesus Christ, offers him to join him in his plan to clone an entire planet and just verbally abuses Luke. It's downright upsetting and hypocritical how he badmouths Luke but then justifies a world made of just replicas. He lets everyone leave because he needs Ash and he's underestimating Luke. Outside of the laboratory, it turns out Ion asked Ash to help them out. That's why he was able to free everyone in Baticul. He also asks everyone to meet him in the inn. On the way to meet Ash in the inn, Luke asks Guy about his past with Van. Guy reinforces what he said in Grand Kokma, that he's no longer interested in vengeance, and everyone confirms they still trust Guy except for Anis, who tells them they're too trusting. Hey, looks like Ash saved Noel too, though they took the flight stone, so here, have some tiny Bronco flashbacks. Ian also asked Ash to hand us a forbidden text containing some very, very old history. Curiously, that book's name is The Genesis of the World. Why the church would suppress a book like this is unknown to me. The book contains the origin of the Clivehoth, created by the world's magic system, the Planet Storm. Well, its engine. I'm kind of simplifying a lot of terms here. The science of this world is very well explained, and if I include all of the explanations here, I'd probably go more insane. Basically, the Planet Storm, I'll let Tyr explain here.
The Planet Storm. That's that artificial planetary fuel distribution system, right?
That's right, you remembered. The memory particles from the core pour out of the first Sephiroth, the radiation gate, and they return to the core through the second Sephiroth, the absorption gate. That's the planet storm that forms the planet's fuel.
And that's what's causing the planet's core to vibrate and turn the soil into mud underground. The machine that would help them is a bit complex, so they need some help from engineers from Belken. On Guy's suggestion, he asks us to look for an engineer named Henkin. Henkin and Kathy, another engineer, refuses. That's until Guy mentions Iemon, who were their rivals in college. This fact apparently known to nerds like Guy. The two engineers ask the town's governor.
Relax. The governor is going to help us.
I've been ordered to search for Master Luke and Princess Natalia. I just can't seem to find them. That's all. Understand?
Oh, please, you're as excited as anyone about that forbidden text.
Either way suits us. We'll explain what's happened so far. Go ahead, Guy.
Me? Oh, all right.
And after all that discussion, our next destination is Dath to get Ion. Oh, Spinoza was also spying on us. Cool. You can just go to Dath immediately and save a lot of time. Dude, have you seen the runtime of this thing? Of course I took that side quest. You go through a wild goose chase through Grand Kokma, Ketterberg, then Grand Kokma again.
We're here!
It took a while to get here.
Well, a certain someone decided to take the scenic route.
Okay, enough already.
But it's true.
Yeah, I can't back you up on this.
I can't defend you.
Don't you start in on me too.
This dialogue proves that doing that side quest was worth it. In Dath, we ask Anis's parents about the God Generals. We are informed that besides Arietta, who's returning to Dath, pretty much everyone's not in town. Sweet! free reign of the Vatican. We update Ion on the current situation. Then Ash informs us via Brain again and informs us about Spinoza and how Kathy and Henken have been evacuated to Sheridan. Unfortunately, before we can follow, Anis's mother Pamela informed Arietta that we are here. A fight breaks out and Pamela shields Ion from a Liger's attack. Her words trigger a memory from Guy.
Guy, look out! If I was able to protect the heir to House Gardios, then I have no regrets.
I remember.
Luckily, Natalia was able to heal Pamela and was able to recover. Pamela herself, seeing Guy reeling from his traumatic memories, spares more sympathy towards him. Now we know why she works so damn hard for these people. Guy reveals to us the worst day of his life. The day his life was ruined by Duke Fabra. All the women, included his sister, shielding him from soldiers, revealing the origin of his aversion to physical contact with women. All the girls apologize for teasing him for this phobia, and that's something very rare you see, like characters apologizing for something that has become a running joke in the game. Arietta is taken into custody by Tritime, but don't worry, he'll be more important. Back in Sheridan, we check up on the engineers and see Tamara and Kathy outside of the workshop, tired of the three old men arguing. I love these old people and their passion for technology. Though they are nearly incapable of working together for the good of the world, they're forced into a collaboration right now. Now, since I left it out earlier, I have to explain the rest of their current plan. Since the planet's core is vibrating, the plan is to build a machine that matches the core's vibration to stop it, kind of. To do so, Hengen and Aston build a device to measure the core's vibration. Since the last passage ring unopened is in Tataru Valley, we need to get Ion to open it and measure the core's vibration from there. Then, when the vibration has stopped, they will then lower all the lands into the Cliff-Oath, and when the planet's core is no longer vibrating, there should no longer be any miasma to worry about, and there shouldn't be a poisoned ocean of mud to worry about too. It's explained a lot better, and there's a lot of science to it, and I left them out intentionally because I'm not a YouTube scientist, I am a literacy ogre. It's been quite a long time since the last time we were in Tataru Valley, where the story literally began. Luke and Tyr recall the beginning of their journey together. We really did come a long way from that time. Luke is very much a different person now, changing and improving for the best. There's a lot of fun skits and events that may happen here, but overall the entrance of the place didn't really change. You're just able to access a new part of the place that you weren't allowed to go to before. Oh, also the enemies are a lot stronger over there. A little later, Anis finds a rare butterfly that costs millions. But an earthquake causes her to trip up and nearly fall into a cliff. Tyr manages to grab her, and in the heat of the moment, Guy quickly pulls Anis back up. A moment of strength in this critical moment. Guy overcomes his trauma. He's not fully cured. In fact, they immediately test if he is in a skit afterwards. At the entrance of the passage ring, we encounter a mystical creature called a Uniceros. Agitated by something, it attacks. We knock it out to calm it down, communicate, and heal its injuries. The creature informs that he sensed the miasma and got irritated. He sensed the miasma in Tyr. The control panel is unresponsive in this passage ring, so it looks like we need to break some seals. This time, the dungeon requires you to hit tuning forks to activate orbs to either turn on fans or open doors towards the seals. If you were able to get Mew Wing at this point, there's also some doors in here that you can only reach with it. With the seals broken, Tyr is able to unlock the control panel. Jade and Luke then proceed to do C++ on the controls again, then measure the core's vibration frequency. That went off without a hitch, and now it's back to Sheridan to check on Iemon and everyone else. We hand off the measurements to the engineers, and Tamara informs us that because of its tenacity, they're modifying the Tartarus to carry the vibration phone machine, not being a typical RPG where a party of random people unilaterally decides the fate of an entire planet. Luke proposes to talk to the leaders, Emperor Peony, King Ingobert, and Astor, although they don't tell you that yet. but they do include him as a representative of the free nations and the neutral citizens. Lowering the lands is a giant change, and to ordinary people, it's a terrifying proposition. Talking to the rulers who can convey these changes can help in quelling some fears in the people who are, number one, shaken from the war that is still happening, by the way, and number two, just learn that the lands are definitely falling. It's perfectly sound. Unfortunately, Natalia is still reeling from the events in Batikul and needs some time to steel herself for her return home. So we spend the night in Sheridan to let her clear her mind. During the night, Luke sees Natalia heading out the inn and follows to see that she is talking to Ash. He's aware of the plan to inform the leaders about lowering the lands, probably peeking via Luke's brain again. She is afraid. And to help ease these fears, Ash, word by word, recalls his promise to Natalia when they were children.
Someday, when we're grown up, let's change this country. Change it so that no one has to be poor. Change it so that war never happens.
Let's work to change our country. For the rest of our lives. Together.
I didn't say that because you were a princess. Your birth doesn't matter. Just do what you can.
A promise of true nobility. Like Natalia, Ash never forgot this promise. Tyr catches Luke eavesdropping on the two. Luke still lamenting on his birth and how it interrupted Ash's existence. Tyr then reminds him that Ash would have died as Luke if he wasn't born, reminding him to not deny his own existence and to live in the now, because he is here right now. Full of resolve, Natalia is now ready to face her father and plead for his cooperation as a citizen of Kimlaska. In Batikul, Ion uses his authority for an audience with the king, placing the party under his authority and protection. Ion really knows when to use his political advantages when necessary. Facing the king, Luke passionately argues that Natalia is his daughter, reminding him of his time praising Natalia. Natalia pleads to stop the war on behalf of the citizens who desires none of it. Ion again leverages his position as an emissary of peace, and Jade lightens the mood in the darkest way possible, hinting on terrible things happening if Ion was harmed or ever killed and not entering into a dangerous negotiation without precautions. Dude, time and place! Jade then hands a document he's written to the king about the current situation of this planet, and the king informs them to return to the audience chamber the next day. After that tense moment, outside, Luke asks about the precautions Jade mentions in front of the king. He was just bluffing and being a dick for no reason. Do you see why people like this man? The morning comes and they appear in front of the audience chamber. Mose gets shut down twice, and the king apologizes to Natalia and defends her from Mose and his advisor. He acknowledges her and they share a moment together. Mose likely retreated to Dath to scheme a bit more. We head to Grand Kokma to talk with the other half of the peace treaty. Emperor Peony then proposes for talks to end the recent conflicts. Luke proposes to hold it in Yulia City so they can learn how the Clifoth is like. Then this happens.
Damn it, why the hell does Dist have the Flight Stone? What a pain.
He has a freakish obsession with phone tech and phone machines, just like Guy.
Excuse me?
Luke, it's not nice to compare Guy to Dist.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, come now, enough foolishness. Tyr is glaring at you.
There is no other character in RPGs like this man before this game. In order to transport the Aldrand leaders to the Clifoth, we need to restore the Albiar's flight, so off to Dath for us. Yeah, we're still in the tiny Bronco.
Ow! Who the hell did that?
In front of the church, basically it's this telling us to go to Ketterberg if we wanted to get the Flight Stone, and this fucking line.
It's not in Darth. Most definitely not. Hurry!
He should have just said it's in Dath. What an idiot.
Brother, you have genius level intellect. What are you doing? Maestro 3-time confirms that this did make a stop in Dath before leaving, and to ask his assistant Cantor Reiner in the Oracle Knights training facility for details. When we return to the training facility, a group of knights attack us, the facility having more guards confirming that the flight stone is indeed here. We find Reiner, who's doing training for a promotion. He's pretty adamant on not giving the stone, so Tyr puts him to sleep and we take the stone. Everyone's hilariously uncomfortable because, we just mugged the guy. As I mentioned before, Aster will be invited as the third representative. Ion suggests that we invite him, since Macedonia is basically an independent country that agreed to house refugees from both sides of the war. We explain this to Aster, and please, for the love of God, stop laughing like a supervillain. And as courteous and as generous as ever, he offers to explain the effects of the miasma in the peace talks since they'll need to agree to lowering the lands. The party decides to rest up while waiting for Noel to transport the leaders. After hearing Aster's explanation about the effects of the miasma, Luke still laments the fact that his hyperresonance is unable to completely remove the miasma, still regretting the fact that he did set these events into place. Tyr consoles him, reminding him of his promise and that he's not alone. This deep regret isn't going anytime soon. The morning comes and Noel arrives to take us to Yulia City. The treaty signing goes off without any incident until Guy puts a sword on Ingobert's throat. Then, Luke's father steps in to confess his direct involvement on Guy's family's death. And then, Emperor Peony confesses Malkuth's involvement in the destruction of the island of Hod. And then, Jade corroborates the information because they needed to destroy the Fomicry research facility in Hod. He continues to confirm that the destruction was caused by a test subject being used for hyperresonance experiments. A man with the name Fendi. Tyr recognizes the name to be his brother's birth-given name, revealing how he knew about the Fomicry research experiments and his anger against the world. Because every leader is in the room, including Ion, was involved in the destruction of Hod. Since Guy has a valid reason to gut everyone in the room, Ion suggests for Guy to just sheathe his sword, and Theodoro adjourns the meeting. Now that the peace treaty is signed, all that's left is to stop the core's vibration and lower the lands. The engineers finally complete the modifications for the Tartarus and briefs everyone on how the machinery works. We start the operation, but Legreta and her Oracle Knights mount an assault on Sheridan. Iemon, Tamara, and the town's inventors and engineers defend you as you escape. For these people, the Tartarus and the phone machine mounted to it carrying their dreams as creators. The horror of the town's slaughter causes Anis to apologize. As we run away, Tamara and Iemon are struck down by Oracle Knights. Tamara and Iemon have passed. In the port, Kathy, Henkin, and Aston spread sleeping gas to prevent the Knights from stealing the Tartarus. Unfortunately, Van arrives to personally deal with everyone, with Henkin upset at Spinoza for selling them out. Van attacks Luke, but Aston puts himself in the way. Henkin and Kathy then hold down Van, giving us time to escape. Van cuts them down where they stand, threatening Spinoza with the same fate. Hearing Luke apologize, Henkin tells Kathy to teach them manners when they return, saying they should say thanks. And as they speak, they fall as well. It is utterly upsetting to see the engineers die this way. Elderly men and women with passion and drive to build technology for the betterment of their fellow men, all cut down because of Van's mad tree. Not having time to grieve, everyone is upset over these turn of events. Tyr reminds everyone of their current mission, and Luke becomes upset at her tone. Guy reminds Luke who we're fighting against, reminding Luke that she's carrying the heaviest burden of them all. Near the core, Sync awaits us atop the Tartarus' deck, erasing a phonic glyph Iemon prepared for us. There is a boss fight with Sync here, but there really isn't anything new since your fight with him before. He's just here without Largo this time. Sync's defeat exposes him a replica of the Phone Master, as Ion reveals himself a replica as well, created the time Anis became a guardian. We redraw the glyph and the voice echoes in Luke's mind. A voice we haven't heard for a long time. The voice mentioning Tyr's heritage possesses her and identifies itself as Lorelei. It warns us of something sapping its strength and the cause of the planet's vibration. Tyr faints, and we board the Albior to leave the core. With the operation to stop the core's vibration complete, we take Tyr to Belkend for an examination, worried for her health. Okay, there's more science with Dr. Shu explaining Tyr's situation. Anyway, basically, her blood is contaminated with the miasma. Jade and Ion ask Luke to be by Tyr's side. They share a very touching moment, Luke wanting her to stop helping lowering the lands, but can't because of all the lives in danger of the continents dropping. Luke asks Tyr to stop acting strong all the time and to tell him how she feels. She requests him to leave, but instead, he turns around, not wanting to leave her side. The voice acting in this is really good, and you just have to play the game. Deciding where to go next, a researcher from Yulia City leads us to the direction of the Maggiore Highlands. Remember that place? It's where we save Genji and the Albior one. On the way to the passage ring, we encounter Legreta, who offers Tyr and Guy a place in Van's replica hellscape. They refuse, and Legreta threatens them with the prophecies of the seventh phone stone, in where Guy remembers he saw it before, in where Van lived. As a descendant of Yulia, Van's family were stewards of the seventh phone stone, and as his friend, Van would take Guy to see it from time to time. We reach the passage ring, and Guy is elated by the amount of machines in it. The sight of a mechanical doll that maintains the facility exciting him the most. Unfortunately, the elevator going down to the control panel doesn't really have energy, so as an energy source, we have to axe the robot and take its battery. So initially, the robot starts out as very strong. Apparently, you can do the puzzles in other facilities inside the Maggiore Highlands to weaken it. They're a bit annoying to find, and I don't really remember if it's true that it can weaken the robot. That was grandfathered to me by my younger self and some decade-old game facts threads. There's some neat items you can get for solving the puzzles though, so that's not so bad to go through. Anyway, the control panel is just after the elevator behind the robot. After they made adjustments to the passage ring, Jade theorizes that if the source of the miasma is the core, then there could be a solution to it. Exiting the facility, we run into Aston, who's alive, thank God. He tells us he's keeping busy to distract him from thinking about his friends. Oh, Jesus. He's there testing the Albior 3. Oh, and Spinoza is here, and oh, he stole the ship! Luckily, it's only fueled for a test flight and it lands in Belkend. It turns out that Spinoza was in Sheridan to visit his friends' graves, but was too afraid of confronting and apologizing to Aston. Luke vouches for Spinoza, recognizing their similar circumstances. Jade then asks him to help isolate the miasma. The mayor of Belkend tells us the next location of the next Sephiroth and passage ring. Then, as we are preparing to leave, Anis complains why we believed Spinoza so easily. She's kind of untrusting recently, isn't she? The location we're pointed to is Mount Zalejo. It's in Dath. Ion informs us that there were rumors of an entrance being in the cathedral. Jesus, that cathedral has a military bunker and a volcano entrance. This place was made by supervillains. Speaking of supervillains, Moses here. He's grumpy that most of the Oracle Knights have defected to Van. We've also ruined his plans for the war, but he does point us to the direction of the volcano entrance. So, after a few good minutes of being lost, we reach an old library. Apparently, the entrance is here. Anis trips on a shelf and exposes the entrance. Sure. Well, at least the entrance is here now. Jade asks if she knew about the entrance beforehand and...
No, I didn't! I had no idea about it! Now let's go! Come on, hurry!
Gee, I wonder if she's lying.
Don't worry about it.
That was the worst deflection ever. Moving on. So, there is a dungeon here, but I'm going to save it for later. And that's another passage ring done. Before heading to the last one in Mount Ronil, Jade asks to check in with Spinoza and the research to isolate the miasma. Spinoza confirms Jade's theory of isolating the miasma, which gives the party hope. All we need to do is to shut down the passage rings when they lower all the lands. There's a lot of science to this which I won't mention here again. The explanations again are really good and you just have to play the game to see them. Luke sends Tyr off to get medicine that suppresses the miasma in her body. In the morning, we learn that Tyr has disappeared and that she went with Ash into the Orcheon cavern. In the cavern, there's a lot of Oracle soldiers moving equipment out of the cave. At the end of the cave where the replica equipment was before, Ash is knocked down to the side and Tyr is trying to convince Van to stop his mad plans. It doesn't go well, and Van leaves. We didn't get to fight him this time because, well, the place is crawling with Oracle Knights and you'll have to contest with them too. We leave the cavern and take the replica Cheagle that was left in the cave. The Cheagle was then after left in Aston's care. Tyr did earnestly believe that she could convince Van to stop. But unfortunately, Van really is adamant on continuing a world with just replicas. Our next destination is Ketterberg, and Jade wants to ask Nefri about Mount Renil. Nefri informs us that this was found frozen in the town square. Now, Nefri specifically asked Jade to not hurt him.
Stop! Stop! You're killing me! Jade! I'm sorry!
It seems the earthquakes have led to more frequent avalanches. Also, an extremely powerful monster has taken up residence in the deeper parts. The monsters in the area have likely grown aggressive due to that influence.
Oh, okay. About that scream just now?
Oh, that was nothing. Now, let's be going.
Right.
Yeah, he tortures the fuck out of him and also asks soldiers to arrest him. Cool. After that pleasant exchange of information, we head to Mount Renil for the final passage ring. After hearing a voice in the wind, Jade recounts a story in his words, a ghost of a woman who died in these mountains. Besides the adorable fact that Tyr is afraid of ghosts, this is foreshadowing for something here. Further in the mountains, they hear more voices. The god generals are here. They're waiting to ambush us, and there's 3 of them. Arietta, Legreta, and Largo. I don't know what happened here. Normally, I'd get into trouble with this fight, and I was really close to losing here, but Tyr landed a timely resurrection and I was able to finish it with 1 try. I think it's preferable to deal with Arietta first because, number 1, she's the caster, and she has an overlimit that just nukes everyone. That fight causes an avalanche, which, fortunately, lands us in front of the passage ring's entrance. Talk about a coincidence. We reach the control panel. No, there really isn't that much of a dungeon here. Then Luke does the usual thing. But it looks like Van has anticipated this and is controlling the Sephiroths from another passage ring. His modifications causing the lands to all fall at once. The final destination is set. The absorption gate to the north. But before the final battle, we need time to prepare. In Ketterberg, the party disperses to rest and ready themselves. Also, the Albier's engine is frozen, so we really can't do anything else. At this moment, we're given a chance to talk to our friends for some really good character moments. Miu is just adorable. Natalia contemplates on the changes that they experience. Natalia making Luke say the promise she made with Ash and accepts that they're just 2 different people and Luke is her friend nonetheless. Ion recounts how he was created by Van and how he came to acknowledge himself as an individual and not just a replica of the Phone Master. Talking to Guy gives Luke a very important lesson. Recounting his childhood, he tells Luke to enjoy his. That technically Luke is still young, only 7 years chronologically, and that he has a long life ahead of him. So I checked all of my footage and apparently I just wasn't able to find Anis in this one. I'm very sorry. Moving on, Tyr is still having a hard time resolving to fight her brother. She's still disappointed that he's obsessed with his revenge on the score. She acknowledges Luke's change and laments Van's inability to accept change at all. Luke asks that they should try convincing Van to stop one last time. And like the time Luke decided to change, he suggests to just do what they can. And this is probably my favorite moment in this. Jade, sympathizing with Luke's mistake at Axeriuth, and admires Luke's ability to sympathize with the people he hurts and kills. Luke acknowledges him as a mentor, and I love how this is worded and how it's voice acted.
Being serious for a change?
Yes. I know about the nightmares that still wake you in the middle of the night. For you, the fall of Axariuth still isn't a part of the past.
Well, yeah, what do you expect?
On nights when you've killed bandits or Oracle soldiers, you lie there awake, shaking.
I'm a coward.
No, that part of you is something I lack. I still can't really grasp what it means for people to die.
Jade.
I've learned a lot of things by watching you.
I'm glad I've traveled with you, Jade. Thanks to you, I've learned what I need to do.
And this moment is gonna be really important for a later part of the story. Before Luke rests to end the day, Tyr arrives to inform him that Jade has sent letters to his uncle and Peony. Since Van is moving in to completely drop all of the lands, they need them to prepare for the worst. In the middle of the night, Luke awakens seeing Ash. Luke, still worried for him and maybe even wanting to make Natalia happy, invites him to come with them. Ash refuses, asking Luke to kill Van and that he'll do so if he doesn't. Luke agrees, with Ash still reeling from his fight with Van, his wounds still not fully healed. After the alveolar is repaired and a few words of encouragement, it's on to the absorption gate. The dungeon is very, very long, with a lot of puzzles too. This place has areas closed off with colored orbs, fences of fire you need to fight specific monsters to remove, and after a tremor, the party is separated into 3 groups. One with Luke and Tyr, one with Gaia and Natalia, and then Jade and Anis. The separation does make the exploration of the dungeon very interesting though, since your supplies are still shared between these 3 parties, and you need to manage them with your reduced combat abilities. So, after a very long time of solving puzzles, the party reunites and Jade tells Luke that they need to lower the lands immediately after fighting Van. Because of Van's modifications, there really is no time to go to the other major Sephiroth in the planet. They're going to instead write a different command, hoping it helps in lowering the continents. We finally face Van, who's playing an organ for some reason. Well, their civilization is wholly sound-based, so I shouldn't really be surprised. Van, for some reason, is still convinced that he's gonna be able to make Ash join him. Yeah, after, kidnapping him, creating a clone who Ash witnessed basically stole his life. I don't know. It's like Van is just insanely delusional. Luke asks Van the reason why he was made, and after further derision and insults, he tells him his purpose. It's just to take the score temporarily off track. That's it. Van never had any respect for Luke. He had no vision, no plans beyond making him into a bomb in Axariuth. Van then kind of contradicts his statements by insulting Luke more, saying that his birth's interruption would never really change anything written in the score, ranting that the world has become dependent on the score for over 2,000 years, and the only solution is destroy the world and replace everything and everyone with clones. He's a pretty decent fight, not too easy, not too hard. He can go down in as fast as 2 minutes, and that's kind of disappointing really.
Julia's score controls the world. If humanity does not create a new world free of the score, it will perish.
Then how do you explain me? Julia didn't say a thing about me. The score is not an absolute future.
The fact that Luke exists shows that there are deviations from the score. No, you don't know the true essence of the score. Even if it is not written, the score exists nevertheless, leading us to certain destruction.
People aren't that foolish. People have their own wills to avoid destruction.
Such influence from a
Yeah? Well, you're too stubborn to listen to anybody, so our only choice is to crush you.
You will be the ones to crush. You who are ruled by the score, die. Take this. enemies through. Watch yourself. Take this. Raging Thunder Blade. Lightning Blade. Such levitation. I'll destroy Imperial Slaughter. So uncool.
I'm bursting with phonons!
Ground Dasher! Piercing Flash! Take this! Take this! Tiger Blade! Take this! Lightning Tiger Blade! Take this! Radiant Strike!
Whoa, that was intense!
Watch out too! Bingo!
Illumination of light. Healing circle.
Take this! Lightning Tiger Blade! No way! Negative gate!
No.
No way! I'm in trouble here!
Illumination of light.
Watch yourself!
Healing circle.
Bingo!
Feel thunder. Lightning Tiger Blade. Resurrection. Lightning Blade.
Such levitation! I'll destroy Imperial Slaughter!
A swift door restores you up and down! Negative gate!
Healing circle. Chill.
I never thought I'd be defeated by such a failure. Oh, how utterly ironic.
Arrogant till the end. And yeah, that's it. Luke tries to operate the passage ring, but doesn't have enough power to operate it on such a grand scale. But then, Ash, from somewhere, lends him an assist. And then Lorelei speaks, hinting of a new threat. Luke proclaims victory, and we're still not finished. But Luke's changed, Van has been defeated, and the Oracle Knights are all gone. What's left of the game? What are we gonna do next?